Here's the next challenge. Sometimes I want my ships to be broken. So when a ship comes in, it might be able to fight or it might be under repair. This is a property on a ship. A ship could be under repair or not. So I'll add this as a new private property that has a Boolean, which can be true or false. The challenge is that whenever we create our objects inside of functions.php, I want to randomly set a ship to be under repair or not under repair. And I want it to happen automatically. So just by creating a ship, I want it to internally figure out if it's under repair or not. This is where the idea of a constructor comes in. Whenever you create an object, you can actually hook into that process and say, hey, whenever a ship is created, call this function so I can set some stuff up. The way you do this is by creating a very special public function inside of your class called __construct. The magic here is that name. It must be __construct. And just by having this, it should be called every time we say new ship. Let's try it. Refresh. And that's it. It's called 4 times, once for each of our ships. And it's called right when you say new ship. So if I throw in a die statement right after that, we're still going to see one of those called. Now we have a really powerful way to set up our data. Internally, we can determine whether or not the ship is under repair. We'll use this arrow under repair equals mtrand 1,100 less than 30. This gives each ship a 30% chance of being broken. Maybe a wing fell off. To see this in action, let's cheat real quick and var dump the ships array. When we refresh, we can see the first 2 are ready for action, but the third one isn't. Refresh again, and they're all ready to fly. And a third time shows that the first 2 are busted, and the other 2 are battle-worthy. So that's working already. Next, let's go into index.php, and up top we have our table information. Let's include status, which will tell us if our ship is under repair or not. Now so far, we don't have a way to access that new property. It's private, and we don't have a getter or a setter, and you don't necessarily need to create these. In fact, we don't want a setter. It's being set automatically inside of the class itself. But I do want to figure out if this ship is functional or not. So what I'll do is create a new public function, and I'll call it isFunctional. This will be the opposite of the under repair value. If it's under repair, then it's not functional. And if it's functional, then it's not under repair. For the outsider who's going to be calling this function, they don't care what we're doing internally to figure that out. Let's go back to index.php and create a nice if statement. If ship is functional, else, and we'll put some adorable icons. A sunshine for functional and a sad cloud for broken. Refresh and try it out. 4 sunshines and 1 cloud. Awesome! Now it's really easy to do the next step. If a ship is under repair, I don't want it to show up in the select menu. It's easy because we can just call isFunctional and it'll take care of all of the internal stuff for us. Down here, we only want to print this out if the ship is in working order. And the same thing down here. Cool. Refresh. All sunshines. Refresh again. There's a cloud. It looks like we're missing the cloak-shaped fighter due to repairs. And when you check the list, it isn't there. Perfect! The construct function is something you are going to see a lot, but it's a really easy idea. It just says if you have a function called __construct, then it's automatically going to be called when you instantiate your object. There is one other thing you can do. Like most functions, it can have an argument. Let's put a name argument here. I'm not going to use it yet because I'm going to show you what happens when we do that. Go back to functions.php. You can see that my editor is angry because it says required parameters name missing. So you notice, whenever we create a new ship object, it's always open parentheses, close parentheses, but you never pass anything in there. When you create an object, the stuff that goes in between here are arguments that are passed to your construct function, if you have one. Because we have a name argument here now, we need to pass a name there. Just like that. Now you can see that's happy. And what we can do inside of ship.php is say, okay, whatever name they pass in, let's just set that to the name property. In functions.php, we don't have to call setName anymore. We're passing it into the constructor, and the name is being set that way. Let's update the other ones as well. And we're good to go. So why would you do this? Why would you add a name argument to the ship's constructor and force it to be passed in versus the setter? It's really up to you. In our case, it doesn't make sense to have a ship without a name. And before, that would have been possible had we just instantiated a new ship and forgotten to call setName. Then we would have been running around with a ship object that had absolutely no name. How embarrassing. Sometimes, when you have required information, you might choose to set them up as arguments to your constructor. It says, hey, when you create a ship, you have to pass me a name. We're not forcing the user to pass a weapon power, Jedi factor, or strength, because those all have a nice default of 0. So it makes sense not to force those, but we do force the name. When you back up, I just want you to realize that the construct function is just like any other function. But if you give it that special name, it is automatically called when the arguments are passed to it. And guess what? You just learned the fundamentals of object-oriented programming. Classes, check. Objects, super check. Methods, privacy, type hinting, constructor, and other stuff? All old news now. And there's even more great stuff to learn, like service classes, dependency injection, inheritance, and interfaces. These will make you even more dangerous, and will also help you understand the outside libraries that you use every day. So keep going and join us for episode 2. See you next time!